What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is episode 4 of the Why Adapt podcast. We got your boy Aaron here with your other boy, Chad Smith. Welcome, Chad. Welcome back.
What's going on? Thanks for having me back, man.
Thanks for joining me. We love this stuff, man. We've been having a great time. We recorded one. We recorded episode 3 last night. Got all fired up, and still got more to talk about. And we just keep on learning, keep on adapting, right?
That's the name of the game, son.
It is. You know what? I just changed the motto on the webpage. It's that the world is changing every day, so why aren't we? I dig it.
I like it.
I dig it. So, well, I feel like we got to do a little bit of a backstory here on your boy Ty. So. Our boy Ty, he's my boy too. I will own that. What we are jabbering about is Chad and I, like we spoke about before, have been friends for quite a long time, and more recently we've been going through a phase of just learning everything and talking about everything, and kind of just having active discussions about life more often, I guess. And I don't know about you, but a lot of my learning was done through YouTube. And I remember, I don't know the timeline, but probably about 8 months ago when Ty Lopez first started his YouTube campaign, if you will, where he was just nonstop blowing up the ads. Props to being able to do that. Dude, he just, I gotta give him mad props for that, because you could not watch YouTube without seeing a Ty Lopez ad.
No, you could.
Have you seen his Lambo? Have you seen his library? They're both nice, even though I don't think he has the Lambo anymore. But that's neither here nor there. The key here is the books. So, what Chad and I chose to do, actually, Chad kind of took the initiative, and we did go through some of his 67-step course, which I would suggest, actually. We found a lot of value in that, wouldn't you say, Chad?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think you actually mentioned that you talked to some people that got some value out of it, and that kind of sparked my interest a little bit. And I read some reviews online, and I was like, it sounded pretty decent. And after watching a few episodes, I think I got hooked, and I've just been all in since. I'm pretty excited to watch another episode every morning when I wake up.
Yeah, it was kind of comical, because I know that I was kind of giving you a hard time about it at first, because all I could think about is that damn Lambo and those books. Because I just saw it so many times. I mean, every day, and I inevitably clicked the link. But yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I had I am just a podcast junkie. Hi, my name is Aaron, and I remember it was just one of the many podcasts that I was listening to, and somebody had talked about it and said, hey, I thought that was pretty legit, and I guess that's all it took.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, as far as value bombs, it's just chock full of them. It was pretty enjoyable. Does he have a podcast? I would think he would have a podcast, to be honest, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know.
You would think we would have looked into that by now. Whoops. Dropping stuff over here. Dropping the mic.
Ty Lambo Lopez.
Ty
Lopez show. He does.
He does.
Yeah.
Ty, where you been, man? Gotta subscribe.
They also they're pretty quick episodes, but he has quite a few.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm just making some adjustments here on the fly. Don't like to do that. That's how things get wrecked. So anyway, got started on the 67 steps. got back on the book bandwagon. I know we had been reading a little bit of books here and there. I guess that kind of leads us to what we were talking about yesterday, which is just, the deadlines, man. We were being pretty lackadaisical about it. We'd talk about books openly, and we were definitely reading our fair share of books. I think we both hold ourselves to a pretty high standard compared to most. But yesterday, we decided to go ahead and both read one of Ty's top 10, which is Managing Oneself by the one and only Peter Drucker, which I didn't read much about him before this. I know I had heard Ty talk about him. But he seems like he's the man, or one of the men I'd like to have in my life, as far as books go. No homo. Not to take it there. But, so we had talked yesterday about this. Okay, we're going to read a book. We're both going to read it. We're going to do a review on it. And, you got to tell me what happened after that, man, because something happened. I know sometimes I'm lighting a fire under your ass, and you decided to light right back. So why don't you tell me about that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it was just so cool. I mean, we were just talking about it, and then we were just like, why are we even talking about it? Let's just do it. Like, tonight, we're going to rip through this book, and then the very next day, aka today, we'll, do a review and kind of share our thoughts about it. So I think, kind of tying in with the whole deadlines thing, it, maybe want to read it even more, kind of absorb as much information as I could, kind of share my thoughts.
Yeah, what was that conversation we were having the night before? You were telling me about just a little backstory. Chad's gone through a lot of schooling, and you were saying you had an essay to write, and you basically had an extended amount of time to write a fairly long essay, and you more or less waited to the last moment and just crushed it in the last 24 hours, basically, to throw it together.
Yeah, that's my hardest part about school. It definitely was. I mean, I could do like the studying, taking tests, all this stuff, standardized tests, not too much of a problem. But man, oh my gosh, like it's that whole 80-20% rule, man. Where I'm spending 80% of my time writing a paper when it's such a small amount of my grade for that class. But anyways, yeah, it was just I would always find something else to be more important than writing that paper. I mean, I'd find anything I could do, even cleaning the house, which I hate cleaning the house. And then I want to be told about basically the night before, where I would start freaking out, and then I just push as hard as I could, and I'd probably submit the paper within like the last half hour. And I don't know why I'd always do that too, and then I'd always tell myself like, oh, next time it's going to be different. I'm going to get started earlier. And sure enough, it kept repeating itself over and over again. So I mean, luckily I don't have to write any more papers, but
not that you're getting graded on, at least.
Right. So I don't know. I think like having deadlines, they can be stressful. I mean, at the same time, if you were to be self-motivated, like, I would work for this book. I know it's something small, but like putting deadlines on things, I mean, it'll give you that little amount of like stress, little extra push to get things done.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I don't really understand a whole lot about how I operate. This book definitely had me thinking about it more. But the one thing I have kind of realized with doing the YouTube videos, and just doing public speaking here and there, is that I just I don't. It seems so strange, but I almost enjoy like winging it. Like I have an idea of what I'm going to say and do, but well, you know what? It actually goes back to man, I can talk sometimes, and I'm going to try to keep it halfway short so we can get into the beef of this thing. But I remember the first public speech I did. I basically, somebody had dropped the ball within my organization, and had to do a speech the next day, like a 10 to 15 minute speech about my organization at the local Chamber of Commerce. And it was a terrible speech in my eyes, looking back at it now. But just the fact that I was able to do it was...
Right. That's huge, man. They told us, like, some of people's, like, biggest fear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I told, I feel like 90% of people out there, if I was like, hey, you got to do a 10-minute speech on this tomorrow, they would just freak out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they wouldn't get it done. Deadlines spur action. But yeah, I don't know. I realized that there's something about that I enjoy. But anyway, point being, action is important. Deadlines are important, and we can do amazing things with deadlines sometimes. So I think it's something that we should continue to focus on. It's really tough. Even when you said last night, like, hey, let's do this by tomorrow, I'm like, shit. Okay, I'll do it.
It means my life, bro.
Yeah, like you're really putting the grills to me, man. But it worked just fine. I mean, again, that book it was pretty light. It was more an extended essay, I would say. I had a couple extended essays.
It was pretty short book. Nice, easy read.
But just in our heads, man, like I mean, when you first said it, it was like, it would not have been something I would have done. I would not have given myself that deadline. I would not say, okay, I'm going to read this by tomorrow. And just the fact that I knew you were doing it, then you did it. You finished it before I did, after I had started before you did. And then I was just like, oh, now I really got to do it tonight. But it also showed me that it was possible to do it in a short period of time too. So it was like it drove me to finish it faster, or just I don't know about faster, but it drove me to continue to finish it last night, because I could have easily read it this morning or whatever, but I just pushed through it last night. And honestly, when I was done with it, I was like, oh, that was it. Like, It was so easy. And I don't know, the whole thing was kind of wild.
Kind of funny you mention that, because I was kind of thinking, oh man, or whatever, I'll just, I'll have a little bit of time at work, I'll just finish it up. But then I was thinking, like, oh, I told Aaron I'd finish it tonight, and it kind of held me accountable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, it's like I had to.
Well, it's like natural to give ourselves outs, man. It's like, I mean, whether it's the right thing to do or not, it's like what's been beaten into our brains, that it's like, I can, if I make an excuse for myself, then it's okay. And I don't know, that
is too. I mean, every time you push yourself that little extra, you're building muscle to not give up. And I mean, yeah, it's a tiny little victory. We're talking, a 15-page book, but still, I mean, over time, you keep doing those things and push yourself. It's going to add up, and every challenge will just seem that much smaller.
Yeah, it definitely builds the confidence too. You remember those things.
Oh yeah.
It was, it's just wild. I mean, I know that it never seems to go over well with at least my significant other. when I tell her, like, okay, whatever you got to tell yourself, but that's an excuse. Like it can be tough love sometimes. And I think the worst part of it is that we don't always use that tough love on ourselves. We make it easier to, give ourselves excuses versus giving somebody else an excuse.
Oh, we soften everything, man. Like, oh, well, I work today, so, or whatever, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like, oh, I deserve to do this because I did this.
We're always so deserving of things. Like, where does this mentality come from? Like, oh, I worked out this morning so I can eat garbage for lunch.
It's not Maybelline. We were born with it, buddy. Or we were taught it or learned it or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you one thing. I know something that has helped me, and this is like getting into a whole nother book. This is something I've had for a while, and I didn't really, I don't know where it came up with it, but I don't know if you heard of Jocko Willink, but yeah, he's got the book Extreme Ownership, and it's extreme in the aspect of basically everything is your fault, and that's not the mentality I've always had, but I did learn at a young age that there was no excuse. Like, I don't, for instance, I worked at car dealerships for probably a third of my life, and I bumped this car. The answer to that when you go tell your boss is, hey, I hit this car. It's not, oh, well, so-and-so was behind me, so I tried to, go around them and accidentally skim this car, and, if he wasn't talking to me, it wouldn't have happened, or, it was nothing like that. It was just, hey, this is what happened. Sorry.
Yeah.
Won't do it again if I had the choice. And, I don't know. I feel like that's been something I've carried for a long time, and it's like getting stronger more than ever now, where it's like, I don't know, there's just this weird thing in our minds where we think that people are going to do stuff for us. Like, and this is obviously a little bit different, but for instance, looking back on my past profession, where it's like, oh, I got this great idea, and you bring it to the attention of somebody, and they're just like, okay, well, are you going to do it? Well, that's, there's a lot to it. I don't really understand that stuff. And it's like, well, the person that you're bringing that idea to is, maybe more old school than you, and you're like, they don't have an idea what to do with it. They'd have to hire somebody to do that, and it's like, what value really are you bringing if you just come up with this idea and you can't implement it?
Yeah, exactly.
Went deep on it, I know. So anyway, let's get into this book, man. So again, this is Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. I would certainly recommend it, if only because of the fact that it's a very quick read. I found this book definitely, I felt like it was talking to me. I mean, I know part of it was just because a lot of stuff that Chad and I have been talking about recently just fit right in. And I just looked through some of the notes here. One of the first notes is, most people think they know what they are good at, but they are usually wrong. More often, people know what they are not good at. And it goes further. And that's something that we've been kind of talking about recently. Just trying to figure out what we are good at and focus on those things. And I know, not to toot my horn, but this is just what comes to mind. We talked about my ability to talk to people, and that was kind of why I wanted to get into this podcast, because I have more recently just kind of like created relationships with people who I don't really know how to explain it. Prominent figures, I guess. People that are not necessarily easy to talk to. And because I was recently in car sales, I find that easier to talk to people. And I feel comfortable even talking to somebody that may be difficult to approach. I guess think of the easy and extreme example would be, a sports figure, or maybe a famous singer or something like that. And I've never approached, Eminem, or I actually had an opportunity to speak to Mark Ingram one time about 7 years ago. He was in a tropical smoothie here around the corner, and I remember being there and being like, man, I think that's Mark Ingram. And this was right when he went to the pros, and I actually I did the fan thing. I Googled his name. That's totally Mark Ingram.
Right.
And Mark, come get your smoothie. Oh, God, that's definitely Mark Ingram. And I still didn't say a word to him. And at that point, I remembered just thinking about the opportunity I missed out on. And I mean, what are you really gonna get from it? I don't know, but it's just the type of thing where why wouldn't you just say hi?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes along the lines of even being in the dating scene, blah blah blah.
Sure.
And there's some hot girl, and you want to really talk to her, but then for whatever reason you chickened out, and then now you're just mad, what the heck? I had a chance, and then she left or something happened where it's too late.
Yeah, you might never see that chick again.
Right. And even though it wasn't that big of a deal, you beat yourself up. I think it's because you're just angry because you're being such a wuss.
Yeah, probably.
You didn't live up to your own expectations of who you thought you were. I don't know.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's something that seems that it would be so easy, right? All you would have had to say is hey man, I'm a big fan, or not even that, or
just hi, man. Just hi. That's the hard part. I think that many people kind of put it on a pedestal,
Oh, for sure.
He's gonna think I'm stupid, or.
One of my friends actually met LeBron in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool. I mean, this is a while ago, and it's probably 8 years ago. But he's seen LeBron from kind of far away, and he's seen the L and J tattoos on the back of his really tall guy's arms.
Out of context, at a Walmart or something.
It was on the street in Chicago.
Oh, right on.
And he had a group of people around him, and so he knew obviously it was him. So he just went right up to him, man. And he stuck out his hand. And he was like, "Hey, what's up, King?" he shook his hand, and that was pretty much it. But
that's pretty badass, though.
Yeah, pretty awesome. They took advantage of that situation.
Yeah, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know. I could keep going about this. Should we just continue on this part or not? Because I could keep going.
No, we gotta talk about the book.
All right, let's get back to the book. Somebody's got to keep this thing on the tracks. So going back to the notes here. Let's see. So basically it talks about how, most people are born into their position. The quick little highlight here is throughout history, people had little need to know their strengths. A person was born into a position and a line of work. The peasant's son would also be a peasant, the artisan's daughter an artisan's wife, and so on. But now people have choices. We need to know our strengths in order to know where we belong.
So I did a little more research on this topic.
Nice.
What they were talking about is like based on what your last name was kind of like what your family's profession was. For example, like last name Smith, like you were. Oh, sorry about that. So, last name Smith meant that you were a Smith, and wow. Yeah, like if your last name was Cooper, it meant that. I thought I turned it on. It meant that your family mostly they made like wooden barrels and worked on it.
Okay. So let's restart that real quick because there was a little bit of interruption. So if your last name was Smith, you did what?
You were like a blacksmith.
Okay.
Or if your last name was Cooper, typically your family made like wooden barrels or cast iron barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was looking up, and it said in like the 1800s, like basically if your last name was Smith, you had a 33% chance of being a farmer.
Wow.
And if your last name was Leonard, you had a 30% chance of being a farmer.
So somewhere I got kind of out of the farmer stuff.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I didn't get out of the small town, so I didn't get far from it.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, man. I mean, do you have like a lot of your extended family lives like in the country?
I mean, I don't have any family that lives in the city.
Yeah. I don't either.
You know, I have let's see. My family pretty much lives on the Leonard side.
Like,
it's like Lapeer is like as far south.
Yeah, like my grandparents' generation, like their brothers and sisters, like they were living like farm country.
I just thought it was funny, like, because obviously, like, your grandparents still have a farm.
What's that?
I said, oh, sorry, I stepped away from the mic. I just thought it was funny because, like, your grandparents still have a farm.
Yeah, I know, man. It's kind of crazy.
Man, this mic is just being a bugger right now.
But,
keep talking.
Alright, no worries. So basically the book was kind of saying, back in the day, you didn't really have to identify your strengths. You didn't have to identify your job. You were pretty much born into that career. That was your strength.
Right, you kind of were what you were.
Yeah, now we're forced with like so many decisions as we grow up. What the heck do we do? What are we good at? I don't think I'm good at. And I think we were talking about this earlier. One of the things that the book said to help identify what your strengths are was the book has said whenever you make a key decision or take action, write down what you expect will happen in roughly 9 to 12 months, and then compare the actual results that happen with your expectations. And I just say that just, maybe it helps out someone else. I think we were kind of scratching our head a little bit on what he meant about that. I don't know if you have any specific thoughts about like what they could potentially mean.
Not a whole lot. I mean, what I get from it is more so just to track your results and see if you're just kind of spinning your wheels. And that way you have a way of kind of gauging your results against something.
I was wondering too, it's not like, we make, hundreds of decisions, and maybe he is even referring to like certain areas of your life. whatever it might be, and let's say you followed through with that, that would show that you were passionate about that specific topic,
Mm-hmm.
and you had expectations about something else, and you didn't follow through with it at all, even though at the time you thought it was important, but you didn't follow through with it, so obviously that wasn't your strength, or even not the direction you're supposed to go.
It's just, the only gripe I have about that, dude, is I feel like I've been passionate about something for that amount of time to later find out that it wasn't a strength of mine. And, maybe it wasn't that it wasn't a strength, because I will say that, excuse me, that when reading through this, like I said, I felt like it was kind of talking to me. Because what I'm referring to is car sales, and that's what I feel. I thought it was one of my strengths as far as talking to people, but I also had that issue with my values not aligning with the company's values, and that's part of the notes further on. But it's just that's where I'm kind of confused on the whole analysis, because my plan, if you will, I guess, when I started car sales was to, I didn't really have a whole lot of plan, but it was basically like, be myself and people will like me, and eventually I'll just keep getting that residual, those residual customers coming back. And all I basically knew about that was that other people that had been in the business, it had taken them, approximately 5 years before they got a steady amount of people coming back to them. And even, I mean, towards the end of my career, because I'm not in car sales anymore, and I don't desire to go back, I realized that, maybe my values weren't in line with the company's values, and that my passion did die out then. But I just feel like at a year, it would have been so hard to gauge that. I guess I didn't really set a goal for myself in a year either, because I didn't really think that, I don't know. I guess maybe I was just thinking like long term right from the get. Like I was never really short-minded about it. Like I guess a lot of people get into car sales thinking like they're just going to make heaps of money. And I did notice one thing about myself, and I don't know if it's that I'm like analytical or what, but I had to understand the business before I could truly feel comfortable selling a car. Like it was difficult for me to even just sell a car, like right from the get. I wanted to understand what I was doing and understand the value that I brought to my customers before. Like I had to know like my story before I could properly sell a car. And it's not to say I didn't sell a car before I understood myself and where I brought my value, because I certainly did. But I mean, it took me a good 3 or 4 months before I could just do it without thinking a whole lot. And it just, that's why this whole 9 to 12 months thing kind of confused me. And I'm not saying that I went about it right, because I'm sitting here telling you that I didn't really even have a 9 to 12 month plan. I was more on like a 5-year plan. But I can tell you what, after like 4 years, I was like, what's going on here? This is, this is not what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
what was it? Was there like a certain thing, or it's a group of things that made you realize that?
I mean, it was just, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, and this kind of gets into more the car business than, I don't know, than myself, I feel like. But it, yeah, I was amazed at how little, I don't know, I guess the easy way of saying it is there's no love in the car business. I felt like
Like from who? Like the customers? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, like I felt like, and this is not referring to you because you were an awesome customer of mine. And I had the most fun doing business with you because we were already comfortable. And
Right.
I did have, and I had many customers like that, but they were not the majority. You know, it was about 10 to 15% of my customers, residual customers that I basically knew that I would, if they were going to be in the market for a vehicle, that I would most likely be selling them a vehicle.
Yeah.
There was about another 15% or so that I knew that I would at least get a shot at, meaning that there would at least be communication with me before they bought their next vehicle. You know, they might be shopping at other dealers or whatever, but I knew that they would at least contact me and give me an opportunity. So, I mean, that's nice. But those are the ones that kind of hurt too, because, I also realized that in sales, you really have to kind of continue to deliver. You know, you can't just sell a person a car once and, say you go above and beyond that time, just something little. The second time, in most cases, you still had to go that above and beyond. And it's not to say that, I didn't want to, just limited in a lot of aspects. But it was tough in that, it wasn't like, oh yeah, hey, Aaron's a good guy, I'm just going to buy a car from him. It was like, you started over with a lot of people. And that was just really frustrating, because I really pride myself on authenticity more than anything. And, that's why that job was tough for me, because I feel like, and maybe that's me taking things personally when I shouldn't, but, I really feel like, your authenticity is really questioned in that business,
Oh, for sure.
And I get that part of it, but
even as like I don't know why I think like we bought like 3 cars,
mm-hmm.
But I don't know why. Even like the very first time, I don't know, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, is there a better deal out there?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why those thoughts even like crossed my mind.
I think it's just the business, man. It's weird because part of it is the advertising. The advertising is just a bitch in that business, man, because it's like you are constantly just bombarded. Like if you watch TV for more than a half an hour, you will see multiple car ads. And you really, unless you're looking at like a BMW or a Mercedes ad, you're not going to see anything really even over like $249 a month. So it's just like, I always, it was funny because I started in that business as a porter and kind of just ran the gamut. And, the porters, where I would work, they would just kind of joke that, because they'd be busting their ass all day and we'd just be sitting at a desk and they're like, oh man, selling cars is so easy and yada, yada, yada. And, what I would always say to them is, hey, have you seen those ads on TV? Like, what ad? Oh, for the $1.99 a month truck or whatever. And oh yeah, I've seen that. And I'd say, well, your job is to explain to the customer why they're going to get that truck for $400 a month. And actually sell them the vehicle.
Right.
And in turn, you're also going to be battling other salespeople who may not have as much integrity, who will wait to fight that fight until that person's in the dealership. So, they may say, you could call a dealership and say, I'm looking for that $199 a month F-150. And they say, oh yeah, we got that one. Come on in. And And then they call somebody else, maybe they called me. And I'd say, oh, that's kind of how ads are. They always say $199 a month, but if you look at the asterisk at the bottom, it says plus taxes, title, and fees, and then you have to have about $24.99 down. And
Right.
and then
like the mileage, it always seems like it's different too. I mean, if you
oh
look
yeah,
at, like, the asterisk, I mean, you're talking like 10,000 miles, which
yep, it's the minimum everything is what it is, and it's all in the story you tell, but I just didn't like fighting that fight, man. I didn't like being the guy that was gonna say, oh yeah, we got that, and then when they sit down in front of you, you go, yeah, well, you can get it for $1.99 a month, but you still got to pay taxes. We got to pay taxes on everything, and well, you got to have $24.99 down. Do you have 20? Oh, you don't have $24.99 down. Okay, well, and that's kind of the way that.
Well, and I think what sucks is that, yeah, I mean, like you're saying, it doesn't align with being authentic. Number one, but number two, whether you sold them that car or not, it's not really gonna change how happy you are.
Right.
I know that's not very simplistic, but that's not, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't necessarily change this person's life. If anything, maybe you created more stress because now they have a bigger car payment or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really feel good about it other than, oh man, you just sold another vehicle and now my boss is going to be happy.
Right. Like and don't get me wrong, selling vehicles can be fun. It is a oddly enjoyable profession. Maybe it's because you're making money from sitting at a desk. I don't know what it is because I've never had that feeling like that other than playing poker. Like when you win, $5,000 in a night from sitting on your fucking couch, and
right.
it's a great feeling, man. And I never made $5,000 on a vehicle, nor did I make $5,000 in a day. Made it in a month a couple times, but that's a different story. But yeah, the only way that I could find to bring value to my customers was to learn more about my products, to just not dodge questions. A lot of people, say they'd be like, oh, can I get a blue one? Oh, you can get a blue one, but we got this black one right here. I would be the person that'd say, yeah, we can get you a blue one. My line was always, we can get you a blue one, but my boss will probably give you a little bit better deal on this one since it's on our lot, because it would cost us money to get one from a different store. Just the cost to transportation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But that was the only way I was able to bring value, was just, again, by just being authentic in those ways. And it's just underappreciated, and then also it just comes to a time, and I say it's underappreciated like it's the customer's fault. It's not the customer's fault. It just kind of is what it is. But and it also would come down to a time where, you get some people that were like really cool with you, and then you get down to like negotiating, and that was kind of like, I guess, the bad thing about the car business is like you have to give a lot of bad news. And the one positive from that, though, is that like after you give them good or give them bad news, like you do have an opportunity to give them good news sometimes. But I don't know, it's not often, and you're just not the good guy very often, I guess. Not the business for a good guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Live and learn, my friend.
Right.
All right, so we got off our rocker here. Let's look at this next note here. I'm just going to let's back into feedback analysis. Okay. Let's go with this. First and foremost, concentrate on your strengths. Put yourself where your strengths can produce results. Second, work on improving your strengths. I felt like that was the same thing. Concentrate on your strengths and then work on improving your strengths. Concentrate on your strengths. Put yourself where your strengths can produce results. Second, work on improving your strengths. Okay, kind of seems redundant, but analysis will rapidly show where you need to improve skills or acquire new ones. It will also show the gaps in your knowledge, and those can usually be filled. Mathematicians are born, but everyone can learn trigonometry. Thoughts on that?
See, that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot of notes to go through here.
Kind of contradicts himself because he's saying to concentrate on your strengths, but then he's saying identify your weaknesses so you can become better at them. So it's like, which one is it?
Well, I mean, I think he's saying that. What I get from that is that your strengths, your weaknesses are never going to be as strong as you already are at your strengths. So to focus more on your strengths because you're going to be better in the long run at them either way.
Yeah, one thing I remember he was talking about, he had an example, he was talking about like someone who had a really strong engineering background is more inclined to be good at mathematics, good with numbers. And in the meantime, they might put off relationships and kind of give up on that whole subject of those people are disorderly and I'm never really gonna understand people. And then for the next sentence, he was saying, and then someone who is a human resources professional would have a completely opposite approach where they would look at relationships as being the most important thing, putting people first, and putting mundane tasks like accounting, for example, or even just basic math, that's a waste of my time. Basically, talking about how we have to be careful if we do have certain strengths to not overlook those weaknesses. If we truly want to become better, more well-rounded people.
Yeah, I think that's well said there. That's a good example too.
And what else? I wrote a couple more notes in here.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see myself being an engineer, that's for sure. But it's weird though because I have been good with numbers. I wouldn't say that I'm good with, I guess that doesn't necessarily make an engineer either. I don't know, man. I just I guess I need to think about it a little bit more as far as me myself, because I definitely like people, but I also understand the aspect of the numbers. As far as a business, it all depends on the numbers. If the numbers don't make sense, it doesn't really matter if you're making friends, I guess. I need to ponder that a little bit more, I think.
There's a story that Ty talked about. He's talking about how, Bill Gates, all of his strength was built around, his work ethic, and he knew from a really early age that he really wanted to produce software, and it was talking about from age 20 to age 30, he never took off a single day. That was everything he did was somehow involved with, making a better product. And I don't know. I think finding your strength is, to me, it sounds like it's just about being focused on something that kind of keeps you going, whether it's a passion, whether it's a job, or even a hobby. I don't know.
That's okay. I don't think we have to know necessarily, but
conflicting things.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting us thinking, so that's a positive.
Yeah, for sure.
If analysis shows that someone's brilliant work fails again and again as soon as cooperation from others is required, it probably indicates a lack of courtesy, that is, a lack of manners. So basically saying that if every time you work with somebody, the job goes downhill, that you need to work on your people skills. That's what I gather from that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, here's what we were talking about just a moment ago. So, check. Gotcha. One should waste as little effort as possible on improving areas of low competence. It takes far more energy and work to improve more incompetence to mediocrity than it does to improve from first-rate performance to excellence. So basically, you're going to work a lot harder on your weaknesses to improve to mediocre than to take your good to great skills to excellent.
Right.
First thing is to know is whether you are a reader or listener. Far too few people even know that there are readers and listeners, and that people are rarely both. Even fewer know which of the two they themselves are, but some examples will show how damaging such ignorance can be. So we kind of talked about this. If you're basically, you need to identify if you're a reader or a listener. If you're a reader, you need to focus more on reading, of course, versus learning from videos or trying to communicate with somebody through conversation. You need to focus on writing those things down to try and analyze them better. I think that's probably pretty good for our episode 4. I'm sure that we will probably be getting together again, maybe even in the next 48 hours, to discuss some other further points. But let's go with, I want to go quickly to our tip of the day. And the tip of the day is going to be make an extreme deadline for yourself. That's my tip of the day. And you don't necessarily have to succeed, but you have to try. You have to try to succeed.
I think I will add in.
Please.
Maybe I think you should succeed. I think the problem is that you're trying something that's too big.
Mm-hmm.
Start small. Like we were talking about, whatever, we had a goal. A small book, 24 hours, something small. We accomplished it. Made us feel good about it. Kind of got some momentum going. So I think, don't make a huge goal.
Mm-hmm.
Small, like whatever. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna.
No, tomorrow. Start small. Do it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna work out tomorrow morning. I'm gonna wake up, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Take action.
That makes sense.
Take action.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna shut this bugger down. I hope that everybody enjoyed our little back and forth regarding this book. Again, that was a book by Peter Drucker. That is escaping me. I know. Come on, app. Managing Oneself, The Key to Success by Peter F. Drucker. Thank you, Ty Lopez, for bringing that book to our attention. You're both of our boys now. Much love. And thank you, Chad, for joining us. And, of course, thank you, audience, for joining us. And please feel free to give feedback. Definitely enjoy feedback. Want to know what you like, what you love, what you hate, so we can make this better for you. So, this is Aaron and Chad. Chad Smith signing off for this evening. Go take action. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.